The Gloriana Set by ThebeMoon. Read by Alex Mabella. Chapter 7. Slytherin Triad. Hermione, please! Ginny was begging at breakfast. Hermione stared at the redhead, baffled. Why, in Godric's name, would I go to the Slytherin Quidditch tryout? You are my only hope, Ginny said. I have to scout the talent after dinner, but there is no way I'm going to the pitch alone. I mean, look at them. She tilted her head towards the Slytherin table in the great hall. It was the typical scene. The older students looking like a pack of criminal masterminds, the younger students quaking in their seats, and Malfoy eating alone like nothing in this world could ever bother him. Take Ron, Hermione said shortly. I need to study. Ron has to redo his Draught of Peace for Stockholm with Lavender, and the rest of my team is too chicken, Ginny said. I need somebody who's not scared of a couple of Slytherins. Luna? Hermione suggested. Fishing for gulping blimpies in the Black Lake. Neville, helping Sprout with some special ability project for advanced students. Apparently, the seeds hate to be planted. Hermione sighed. Fine, but you owe me big. She glared at Ginny. I'm serious. I'm giving up serious study time to watch some wacky feint. Ronsky feint! Ginny and Ron cried out. Whatever, she said, trying not to smile. Hermione spent the rest of breakfast moodily drawing runes in her Transfiguration textbook as an intense Quidditch discussion raged around her. Then she joined a small pack of Ravenclaws on the way to Ancient Runes. She was just going to have to avoid him. 4 days into the school year, and she simply needed to avoid a man who sat across the aisle in Ancient Runes, across the table in Patience, and 2 inches away in defense against the dark arts. No problems here. Entering the Ancient Rune classrooms, Hermione saw that Malfoy seemed to have adopted the same strategy. He looked as artlessly indifferent as ever, tucked into his tiny desk, and spared her only the occasional dark glance. Later that day, at the defense against the dark arts, Hermione couldn't help but be hyperactively aware of the man to her left, that soft cologne scent drifting nearer. She leaned closer to Ron on her other side to avoid it, and by the end of the period, Ron was stroking a light pattern on her arm. Huffing, she gave Ron a sharp dig with her elbow and reluctantly shifted closer to Malfoy's beanbag, ignoring Ron's hurt look. When would this class be over? After dinner, she and Ginny left the castle to walk to the pitch, with Hermione wrapped snugly in a red and gold scarf and hat. She knew from experience that no matter how beautiful it was when one headed off to a long, dark Quidditch event, an icy wind would invariably swoop off a mountaintop before the first quacky hit a hoop. A fair number of Slytherins cheered from the stands as the aspiring players gathered on the pitch. The captain of the Quidditch team was a blonde keeper. Willowy and beautiful, she flitted between the big hoops, effortlessly blocking every hit. If Malfoy hadn't revealed himself that fatal morning outside her morning, she would have thought it was this player practicing before breakfast. She was very tall. That's Astoria Greengrass, Ginny said, following her gaze. Daphne's younger sister. She looks delicate, but she nearly took off my hat with a bludger last year. I've heard something about her, Hermione mused. Oh, she was betrothed to Draco Malfoy. What? Ginny looked up from the parchment she was scribbling on. Not officially, but their families were talking seriously during our 5th year. Astoria wouldn't quit bragging about it. Kept showing off some diamonds he gave her. Revolting. Is it on again now? Hermione asked. Ginny shrugged. No idea. I mean, the Malfoy names is mutt these days. Oh, I'm sorry. She looked at Hermione, her eyes wide, and shrugged. It's all right, Hermione said, patting her arm, and it really was. It's a Muggle term, too. Ginny smiled at her. You're the best witch I know. You're just saying that because I came to Slytherin tryouts. Ginny just grinned and went back to her parchment, assigning points to prospective players. Hermione put her chin in her hand and watched the flying below, her cars whipping around her. The wind, as predicted, was picking up already. After nearly an hour, her butt was frozen, and she was sick of doing arithmetic in her head. Hermione looked enviously at Slughorn, who sat near the pitch, wrapped in an enormous blanket and tucked into a comfy armchair. Why hadn't she brought a book? She was trying to calculate whether she could summon one from her bedroom window when Ginny grabbed her arm. Here comes the prospective seekers! There were only 3, 2 sixth-year girls and Malfoy. Hermione's breath caught, watching those familiar loops. She had been waiting for this, she realized, without knowing she was waiting. Wow, Ginny said. That kid really can fly. She began jotting numbers, splattering drops of inks in her haste. Astoria started hitting small balls out over the field, allowing the 3 contenders to chase them. Malfoy scooped each one up in a minute, easily outflying the 6th years. Hermione's eyes narrowed. Astoria was starting to hit them directly to one 6th-year student or another, but Malfoy stole them away. The stands were deathly silent, although Slughorn did cheer and wave his little snake flag. Huh? Ginny said, looking around. Not a lot of support for Draco. One ball sailed their way, and Malfoy made a tight turn and snatched it before it entered the stands. He hung in the air 5 feet from them for just an instant, his eyes meeting Hermione's before he flew away. Ginny turned to Hermione. What was that about? Hermione shrugged. Can we go? I can't feel my ass. Yeah. Ginny stood and packed away her quill and parchment. Hot chocolate in the common room. She looked back at Malfoy. Slytherin will be tough to beat with a seeker like that, she said. Miss Weasley? Madame Hooch, the Quidditch teacher and Gryffindor's new head of house, stood by the entrance to the pitch. Her bleached white hair was wind-blown, and her black cape snapped and swirled behind her. Hooch always wore Quidditch gear, even when she wasn't flying. A moment, please, Miss Granger. You may come as well. They followed her to a grassy spot away from the stand. Miss Weasley, Hooch said in a severe tone, it has come to my attention that the 7th and 8th year are planning a party Saturday in the common room. Yes, Ginny said. Upperclassmen parties were not forbidden after curfew as long as it didn't get too out of hand. Nobody had expected Hooch to object. Excellent. I would like you to open this party beyond just Gryffindors, into house unity and all that. You will invite 8th year Slytherins as well. Slytherins? Ginny gasped. We couldn't. Hooch's face was stern. You certainly could. Extend the invitation today. Have the fat lady issue a temporary passport for the evening. Slytherins, Ginny repeated. Hermione said nothing, but felt the same. Today, mind you, Hooch repeated, slinging her broomstick over her shoulder. She always carried her broomstick when on the Quidditch pitch. She stalked off. I'm not talking to Astoria, Ginny pronounced, sounding just like Ron. She can't come anyways. 7th year, remember? Come on. Hermione led her back to the pitch. Look, there's Blake Zabini. He's tolerable. He's creepy, Ginny said. He always tries to touch my hair. Hermione peered up at the green-cloaked figure high in the stands. I'll talk to him. He won't touch my hair. She'd heard enough Slytherin insults over the year about her hair, mostly from Malfoy, but Zabini had always considered Muggleballs unworthy of comment. In the rare times they'd been forced to interact, he'd been distantly courteous. Bugger, Ginny grumbled as they climbed. They'll ruin our party. Zabini sat on a topmost bench, a slender figure with wind-ruffled black hair, wearing a dark suit and a tie under his cloak. He looked down at them like a king from his throne, waiting for them to speak. Zabini, Hermione said. She was damned if he was getting an excuse me or even a hello. Raggle nodded. Granger? Weasley? Hermione began, glancing at Ginny. God, she felt stupid. She tried to channel McGonagall again. Better to sound prim and snippy than weak and intimidated. We Gryffindors are holding a party in our common room Saturday night. Zabini's eyebrows rose, but Hermione went on doggedly. And in the interest of inter-house unity, we would like to invite a Slytherin 8th years. All of them? Zabini asked. Of course, all of them. There are what, 6 of you? Lloyd smiled. I thought perhaps you wouldn't care to include certain personalities. Ginny frowned, but Hermione knew exactly who Zabini meant. Everyone in 8th year, she said firmly. You may be afraid of him, Zabini, but I assure you, we are not. Zabini's mouth turned down. I believe we are otherwise engaged. All of you? Hermione asked. Well, this has been fun, Ginny said brightly. Sorry a lot can't make it, maybe next time. She grabbed Hermione's arm and began tugging her back down the stands. A moment, Zabini said. Perhaps our plans can be rearranged. Oh no, Ginny said. Don't inconvenience yourself for us. Plans are important. Ta! I will send an owl informing you of our decision, Zabini said. Don't put yourself out, snapped Hermione. Zabini's dark eyes just blinked down at her slowly. Ginny kept a vice grip on her arm and hauled her down the stairs. What was that? Ginny hissed. Did you insist that Malfoy be invited to our party? What? No, well, maybe. Zabini irritated me. Trust me, Malfoy will irritate us a lot more. Ron will go spare. Excellent, Hermione grinned. Dinner and a show. Ginny stopped at the bottom of the stands and cocked her head slightly. What is with you this year, Hermione? It's like you want to cause trouble. I don't know what you're so worried about, Hermione said. They won't come anyway. She was utterly wrong, of course. Ginny received Sabine's owl an hour later as they sat around the Gryffindor common room sipping hot chocolate. The note was terse. The Slytherins would be pleased to present themselves at the Gryffindor common room at 8 p.m. Saturday and inquired if the event was black tie.
Tell them yes, Ron suggested. Let them look like idiots.
Tell them business casual, Hermione said. What's that? Ginny asked. It's a muggle term. Love it, Ginny cried. We need temporary passwords.
Gryffindors are great, said Neville. Slytherins are stupid, said Ron.
Charity and love, said Luna dreamily.
Why are you here? Ron asked. Don't you Ravenclaws have your own common room?
Luna just smiled and blew him a kiss. Ginny grinned wickedly. No, I love it. Imagine all the Slytherins repeating charity and love. Genius. She scribbled a few more lines and sent the message off. It could work, Hermione thought, moving to sit alone on a sofa by the fire. She gazed into the melted marshmallow swirls in her cocoa. The password alone might repel even Slytherin's most die-hard partiers. Hermione! Lavender slid onto the couch beside her. Can I talk to you? Hermione nodded. Lavender looked nervous and embarrassed, fidgeting with the sofa cushion. You probably think I'm stupid, Lavender said. Well, I wish you hadn't gone to Madame Hooch. You know, Lavender stared at her. Oh, of course you know. I just wanted him to come. Lavender. Hermione stopped. What could she say? The more she warned the girl of Malfoy, the more Lavender would defend him. But Hermione had to say something. She was feeling guilty about her comments at potions. She'd been trying to deter Malfoy from flirting with Lavender, but ended up making everything worse. She tried again. Look, Lavender, I don't think Malfoy's evil. I never did. But he's cold and conceited, snide, conniving, irritating. Do you really need that? But he's so handsome. Not when he's sneering. He doesn't sneer that much anymore. Hermione considered this. She had to admit the man had banged down the sneering and name-calling. His harassing of the first years had been more mischievous than anything. Still, that didn't make him boyfriend material. You would really snog a person like that just because he's handsome? Hermione asked. Lavender nodded and giggled. Well then, best of luck, Hermione said. Don't come to me crying when he breaks your heart. Lavender's eyebrows pinched together. You're jealous. He's much more handsome than Ron. You seem to think Ron handsome enough in 6th year. And I said you're jealous. You're so mad about Ron and now you want to ruin this for me. Hermione sniffed. I don't have to ruin it for you. Malfoy will ruin it just fine without my help. Don't you dare! Lavender stopped as she and Hermione suddenly realized their voices had gotten a little loud. Everyone is listening to us catfight about Ron and Malfoy. Brilliant. Hermione stood. Do what you want. She turned to the wide-eyed crowd around her. I'm going to bed. If her life kept up like this, she'd be going to bed right after dinner every night.
Hermione,
Ron said. It's all right, she said, smiling. Really? With a final glare for Lavender, who had tears in her eyes now, the little moron, she headed up the stairs. To be continued. Thank you for listening to The Gloriana Set by ThebeMoon, read by LMX Mabella. If you would like to stay up to date on upcoming chapters and stories, you can follow me on AO3, YouTube, or Spotify.